Badger Politic. I'm Scott Stearns.
Yes, this is Paul Sickle.
Hey, Paul. We are a week away from the November 6th elections. How are you feeling about things? Yeah.
Very cautiously optimistic.
Well, I like the fact that you're saying the word optimistic.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, as Nate Silver would say, noise.
Yeah.
Between what appears to be signals. The one thing that seems to be clear to me is there isn't the big enthusiasm gap maybe that people have talked about, at least based on where geographies are voting.
Right.
That said, I really hope that people who believe in freedom are tuned in and looking at voting this time.
Well, we hope so.
Like, if you want a sensible gun policy, if you want anything, like a livable society.
Good health care,
right.
Labor rights, all these things that people used to take for granted that are now under attack. This is what this is all about. So, the generic ballot nationally right now, I think, has Democrats favored by 17 points. But again, you'd come back to how much.
That's one poll.
Well, correct.
The average generic ballot is much closer than that. 538 has it at like 9 points, not 17.
Okay.
So just to keep,
just a level set.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly, level set. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a crazy few weeks in terms of political violence that's occurring. Mm-hmm. We were in the middle of it last week when we recorded about the pipe bombs being sent to various Democratic leaders throughout the country, and they arrested a suspect, Cesar Sayak, I think is how you say his name. Coinciding with that, you had the violence in Pittsburgh at a synagogue where a guy shot up the synagogue and 11 people died. And it's another right-wing nut who apparently didn't even vote for Trump because Trump was, I guess, too friendly to the Jewish people,
right?
For him,
yeah. So he was
Robert Powers, I think. Was
yeah. So do you think that we can say that Trump empowers people like that, so to speak?
Well, I think it goes without saying. You can call it political correctness. You can call it whatever you want. He makes acceptable certain points of view that used to be shamed. Mm-hmm. And now it's like you hear it. You hear it when you run into certain people and the language that they're using and how they're referring to the others. And I feel like it has become more commonplace. I don't think it's just an American phenomenon for sure. You look at what's going on in Europe and elsewhere. Mm-hmm. There has definitely been a resurgence in kind of this extreme right wing populism that is all about us losing something and the others are abusing things and taking things away from me, and it could be around race, it could be around religion, socioeconomic, however you want to put it. Immigration's obviously a big thing here. Mm-hmm. They're trying to make that the issue in the closing days of this campaign, that there are refugees or people that want to claim asylum that are coming from places in Latin America. And now we're going to send thousands of troops down to the border in the closing days of this election to make immigration the high-profile issue because they don't want to talk about health care. They don't want to talk about pre-existing conditions. They don't want to talk about the issues that actually matter to people.
So let's go back a step, though. Mm-hmm. Is there real enthusiasm, though, on the ground?
I feel like there is.
I mean, or is it just a bunch of people that are among progressive potential voters? Mm-hmm. Is it just the people who voted for Hillary who are just really mad now, and so they are more intense, but they don't actually accumulate more votes?
Well, I mean, we have a couple things. We have the data, that shows that the generic ballot and some of these other things are looking favorable. Right. To our side. Mm-hmm. But I think circumstantially, I noticed it just among people that I come across, people that maybe didn't vote last time around, or people that normally wouldn't vote in a midterm election, that this is now viewed as an important thing that needs to occur.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, a lot of Republicans were saying that they were doing really well with Latino voters,
which is interesting considering
Trump's
the immigration stuff.
Well, I think that the thought is that among Latinos who have their citizenship, that people, maybe more recent citizens might be more, for whatever the good fortune they had, think, well, I got here the right way, so to speak.
Right. So
or I've got mine.
Why should somebody else be able to take a shortcut when I had to wait?
There might be something like that, but also, there's also probably a lot of potential voters who might just be disgusted with the political process.
There's that.
And they don't see the Democrats as particularly effective.
Yeah, maybe not as a better option. I mean,
some people may even be afraid to vote, given the circumstances.
That's the other thing I think that they're depending on, is that the Latino vote being suppressed for fear that they're going to be questioned at the polls, and
their family could be targeted, some of whom may not be legal, or like citizens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though some of them may have status, they likely, in some cases, know others who don't have status, and they don't want to call attention necessarily to friends and family that could be put in a bad situation.
This isn't the case.
Well, I hope so too. I mean, we've been looking over the early vote numbers.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, that's what I meant. Where it's just all noise.
Yeah,
there's very little signal in it.
Right, it's not dramatic, like in terms of the various counties of the 72 counties in
Milwaukee
Wisconsin.
County and Dane County are kind of holding their own.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that is really clear is college counties,
higher educated counties.
No, counties with colleges.
Oh, counties with UWs.
Generally underperforming. Maybe a little closer than I had previously feared when you really look at it against 2014. But they're generally underperforming.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of underperformance in industrial areas.
Like the first district.
Like kind of urban industrial counties that are smaller than Milwaukee.
Right.
Outside of the Milwaukee area. So, I mean, Racine, Kenosha, much lower. Brown County in Green Bay, Outagamie County, Appleton, Winnebago County, which is partially UW-Oshkosh. Mm-hmm. There's that.
It probably doesn't bode well for...
Rock County way down, like you said.
It probably doesn't bode well for Randy Bryce's chances. I don't think.
I wouldn't think so. On the other hand, I mean, it's possible that these are less educated blue-collar whites who flirted with Trump, voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
These might be the Trump-Obama voters.
Could be.
Working-class white folks who are fairly open-minded and maybe thought Trump was good on trade.
Yeah.
And then now they're just turned off by the whole process, but they're not ready to repatriate to the Democratic Party.
Sure, they may just sit this one out.
Right, and the hope would be that Bryce could get them back. The question is, where were they in 2014?
Well, right.
These people. The other thing is, the more affluent, well-educated, mostly white counties are very much outperforming their peers. So, yeah, I would say Randy Bryce, it does look really decisively bad for.
Yeah.
Because Walworth County is up. Ozaukee County is up. Waukesha County is up.
And which of the counties that the first district covers, where Randy Bryce is running, Paul Ryan's district,
Walworth is the most conservative.
Walworth's the most conservative.
And then Waukesha, parts of Waukesha.
Kenosha's probably the most liberal.
Rock County, too.
Janesville.
Yeah, but they're both down
in
turnout. So, right.
So if you're listening to this from one of those counties, make sure you talk to your friends. Get them out to the polls a week from...
if they're voting for Randy Bryce and Tony Evers.
Well, yeah, otherwise, tell them that,
So I don't know about you, but I'm not really worried about Baldwin at all.
No, I like Tammy Baldwin's chances, I think, are solid. She's got this, I think, for the most part, based on everything we know. Leah Vukmir, I think, has run a base-driven campaign where she's putting herself up as a Trump loyalist.
Right.
And just attacking...
Well, you said you were skeptical of reports that there would be that big of a gap between Evers and Baldwin.
Yeah, I don't think...
Basically, Evers is in a tie. Baldwin is... probably in the high 50s.
Baldwin's running away with it if the polls are to be believed. Yeah, so I just come election day, I don't expect that Baldwin is going to win by the margins the polls are showing her winning. However, I do think that there are maybe some coattails there potentially that aren't being captured.
I'll go with a 4-point gap.
Yeah, that's probably about the max.
I'd say that'd be the over.
I think anything.
I think it'd be a little higher. I think it'd be higher. So if Baldwin got 56%, I'm saying Evers would get 52%.
Yeah.
If Baldwin gets 54%, Evers would be in a tie. Mm-hmm. If she's below 54%, almost certainly Evers would probably not win.
Yeah,
or not almost certainly, but it would be pretty hard for her to win.
Or it's a very late night.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's my feeling is that it'll be Evers will get 51%, and Baldwin will get 55%.
Yeah. Turning to that Walker-Evers race, the one thing I would say in terms of the style of the campaign that's being run is that everything that he is trying, that Walker is trying, in terms of trying to knock down Evers, isn't working. All the old tricks aren't working anymore. They tried to pull the plagiarism card again because he didn't have some citations in order in terms of his proposals, and nothing is working.
Well, and also, I mean, you passed all these bills with modeled after Alex.
Oh, exactly.
Like how much plagiarism? I mean, everything Walker does is somebody
for sure.
wrote.
I think it's just devastating when you see ads on TV where Evers is being portrayed as the teacher and then Walker is the politician, because he is a career politician. He dropped out of Marquette University and then went into politics. He lost to Gwen Moore in his first race, and then went from there and ended up in the Assembly, Milwaukee County Executive, and now governor.
So I've been tearing my hair out trying to model the early vote. The one thing I can tell you is that it's almost certainly going to require some persuasion for Evers to pull this off.
Okay.
Like it won't. I mean, turnout will be a big part, but the question is this. If you had the same vote breakdown, among the same people as you did in 2014, Evers would have no shot.
Right.
How many people do you think Walker won 52% of the vote, almost 53% of the two-party vote in 2014? How many of those 53% are still behind Walker?
Well, again, going back to the polls, he's losing amongst independents. And that's a problem for him because he's never been able to win.
There is a move. If you have just the same voters as 14, there would be a movement against Walker.
Yeah.
Because not enough to win it, but enough that he would be much closer. And then the turnout will do the rest of it.
Yep. That's what it's going to come down to. If independents come out, if independents reflect roughly what the polls are saying, that they are opposing Walker this time around, that's big trouble for him.
So that would probably bring him close to a statistical tie on its own.
Yep.
And then if you've got a high turnout in Milwaukee, for instance, you should be okay. It looks like it's going to have to come from Milwaukee because the student areas aren't performing from what we can
Dana's
tell.
Up.
A little bit, but not as much as it was.
Huge, but
a couple days ago.
But you would expect a big turnout in Dana on election day. So
absolutely.
Do we think? What are the odds? We're a week out. What are the odds that there's some other surprise in the mix that Walker tries to pull off in terms of trying to define Evers as something other than he's known as today?
It depends if they feel that they're really behind or if they think that they can win this by turning out their votes.
Yeah. I think that's probably
and
where
the question
focus
is, what else? What is there?
Well, and that's the trick.
They probably should have saved the teachers looking at porn for now.
That maybe.
Drop it now.
Yeah.
Now everybody's inoculated to the
for sure,
and they think it's kind of stupid for the most part. I mean,
yeah.
I actually saw some of the ads are going back to that stuff. And I think that is probably where you go. You just try to twist people's stomachs at the last minute.
Yeah, just get them to be squeamish enough that they can't pull the trigger for him.
Right. Dear listeners, no, Tony Evers doesn't favor pornography in the classroom.
Just so you know.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Leah Vukmir earlier, running a very base-driven campaign. Walker has done the opposite. Walker is trying to recast himself as a centrist. And he's the education governor now. He's like all the healthcare stuff. Your insurance company dropping you because of pre-existing conditions. I mean, these are all
now
things.
To seal the deal on the part of Evers, I'd like to see a really good kind of talking to the camera ad. I know he's not the best spokesperson, but if you could say about 2 or 3 declarative things talking about why he's running,
just to be something a little more personable.
Yeah. Another thing would be I'd like to see just a little bit more blistering attack on the pre-existing conditions, like show Walker contradicting himself.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about previously, it's just they have to
make it very clear he's a liar, and
call him it.
And I think
call him a liar.
That's right. I think that, Walker will say anything to get elected.
And again, going back to the career politician thing, like this guy will do anything to stay in office so he can move on to the next thing.
And I think we legitimately can say that coverage as we know it for people with pre-existing conditions is in great peril if
of
Walker
course,
wins.
based on all their actions.
If he has his way, that won't be something. People can.
He can say
maybe there'll be some sort of access that rich people can afford.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, good luck.
Well, they can say all they want about how, like, oh yeah, we're going to pass a bill at the state level. We're going to take care of this.
Yeah, and then if you read the fine print, that doesn't even contain.
Right.
It has lifetime limits. So, like my daughter's surgery that she had earlier this year could get her lifetime limit, and then she'd be screwed.
Yeah. So
the kid's 14 months old. Doesn't she deserve a little bit better shot at health than that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to have to move to get my kid medical care.
Right. So, being that it is a week out, got any predictions?
Well, I think we've tossed and turned with it. I don't know that the right-wing violence, maybe the pipe bomb stuff, and the synagogue shooting is just so awful.
It is. I don't know that it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably statistically insignificant, honestly.
I also don't like the idea of profiting off of it politically, other than to say that we have to have a more civil culture.
Yeah.
And the party of Trump doesn't espouse a civil culture right now.
Well, you have Democrats that are going into restaurants and yelling at Mitch McConnell and these guys, and it's like, well, that's. Yeah, I think it's
stupid, but it's
stupid and it's juvenile and it shouldn't happen.
I wouldn't do.
But I mean, that's not the equivalent of mailing pipe bombs to people in government.
I mean, if Mitch McConnell walked into the tavern right now, or even Scott Walker, I'd probably buy him a beer, and then I'd say, I just want you to see what generosity looks like.
There you go.
That may not be that civil, but it'd
be something.
Yeah, right. I don't think I would shut him down.
So Evers Walker election held today. What do you put it at?
Yeah, I guess if I had to bet my house on it, I'd probably bet on Walker.
It's obviously been proven to be a savvy enough politician to survive.
But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Evers sneaks it out.
I think Evers wins by 3.
Walker certainly, I don't see him winning by more than 3 or 4. I think that's his upper limit.
If he pulls it out, it's going to be something where it goes into the night a little bit.
I'd say if there's a blue wave, Evers actually probably has a higher ceiling. Walker probably has a lower ceiling.
Yeah. I would give
that said, I think they've got a really great turnout infrastructure on their team. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, the Walker people, a lot of the Walker 14 people were seen as like key elements in the Trump 16 operation.
Sure.
And this is what I think we all think is mostly above board, not the Russian stuff, but like the actual social media outreach of these campaigns was pretty bright, quite potentially in many ways ahead of what our side's doing.
Yeah.
We used to think we had a big technology edge, and Obama did over Romney for sure. But
sure. But
I think Walker they caught up. Walker in 14 really showed the way.
Yeah.
And took what was a very close race and turned it into kind of a yawner. No, I mean, the hope is that some on our side have started to catch up a little bit too. But I mean, I just think tactically, they're probably Walker's in a stronger position.
Well,
but overall, the political headwinds probably do point toward what you're saying, a 3 or 4 point win.
Yeah.
I don't think Walker wins by much, but I think that he might have the tactical advantage.
All right, well, we shall see.
We shall see. I hope not.
All right.
Baldwin, done and done. She's in.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, she's not going to have enough Democratic senators to get a majority.
No.
But we do both predict a House win for the Democrats.
I think
right?
I think they take the House by probably somewhere between 25 and 30 seats. Somewhere in there.
I'll go with what Nate Silver says. Right now they're saying 234 to 201.
Well, I like that. That would work.
I'll go Dems plus 30.
All right.
So maybe a couple closer, but yeah. State Assembly is going to stay very Republican.
Yeah.
State Senate, I'm going to go 16 Dems, 17 Republicans. So
just short.
One closer.
Right.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll lose. Watch the Northeast Wisconsin races.
Okay.
If there's a good blue wave, then we could actually prevail in at least one or maybe both.
Be nice to see.
Up there, but Those are the ones that I'd be keeping an eye on. And Chris Marion has a pretty good shot against Calvert Markline in southwest Wisconsin. Julie Henze, I think if we're going to win this election for Evers, you're going to have to see the suburban voters turn more Democratic. That's where Julie Henze's district is. It's actually the district Leah Vukmer is leaving. It includes many of our listeners, I'm sure, and actually probably in Wauwatosa, West Dallas, the city of Milwaukee on the west, far west sides near the zoo, out to Elm Grove, Brookfield, and New Berlin. It's pretty rough sledding for a Democrat, but in this environment, that's the area we got to be winning.
For sure.
So
we'll regroup and
we'll say where voter turnout's high. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So we'll assess it election night and figure out where things are at. But
sounds good.
It's exciting. So
all right,
get out there and vote, everybody.
Okay, forward.
Forward.